welcome to Mary's Eclectic Interests. I'm your host, Richard A. Claddy. I'm honored tonight to have the author of the Monsters in the Midwest series, Scott Burtness, with me. Scott, welcome to Mary's Eclectic Interests.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, you've written 3 books,
Yep.
Monsters in the Midwest series.
Yep.
When did this project start? When did the first year the first book came out?
So the first book, Wisconsin Vamp, I released in January of 2014.
Okay.
The project was a bit longer in the making.
Were you planning on a 3-book series at the beginning, or just write one book?
No, actually, in the very, very beginning, I was living in Los Angeles, and I figured that I had to have a screenplay to be allowed to stay. So I was writing a screenplay.
Oh, really?
And it was only after a few years that I finally figured out that I would never actually sell a screenplay. And then when I moved back to Minnesota, I didn't need to have it anymore. So I turned it into a book, and then the second and third, I just had so much fun doing the first one that I wanted to keep it going.
Well, you got to have fun with the project like this, because it's getting on the ground floor. And I know you self-published it. Is that right?
I did. Yep.
What are the kind of the pros and cons about self-publishing? I mean,
Yeah.
you're biting off a big project like this, and you got to do your own promotion then, and
Yeah. Actually, you pretty much have to do everything.
Right.
So I mainly made the decision to be an indie author and self-publish because I knew that the route to getting published was long. It takes a long time to find an agent, to get a publisher to actually take a closer look at your work.
and you have to have a thick skin because you're going to get
Tough
rejected.
skin. Oh yeah, lots of rejection. And for me, I had a lot of fun reading it. I wasn't trying to write the next great American novel. I wanted to write a book that was just fun and enjoyable. And for me, I wanted to take that time and energy and just try and get my book into readers' hands, let people start to enjoy it.
Right.
So I made the decision to self-publish. In hindsight, I think it was a good decision, but it is a lot more work than I would have ever imagined.
Okay.
I tell folks, writing a book, piece of cake. Getting people to know that you wrote a book, really hard.
Really. So that's what you're here tonight, appearing on a cable access TV show.
Sure, yep.
And do you, like if you're going to be at a bookstore or something, do you try to get the word out with like radio stations or something, or have you been trying to do stuff like that? Or?
Mostly for me, so I do a lot of work online through social media and whatnot, but one of my favorite ways to help get myself and my books out there is actually going to conventions.
Great.
Comic conventions, horror conventions, fan fests.
Or do you have to rent a booth then?
Yep,
or
rent a table.
Then when you're there to
stack it full of
sign your
books.
books? And
Yep.
yeah. Has that been working out pretty good for you?
It has, and it's a lot of fun actually getting to meet people face to face, and then when you come back the next year, being there again, hopefully with a new book that they can enjoy, and those relationships are, I think, a heck of a lot more fun than just tweeting about the book and hoping someone buys it online.
Okay. Well, the first one was called Wisconsin Vamp, I understand.
Yep.
And I understand that some crazy things right off the bat. You got this guy named Jerry, and he's a salesman of some kind. And
yeah. So Jerry's a fun character. He's basically in the prologue of each of the books.
Right.
The inspiration for Jerry actually came from the movie Gremlins.
Okay.
In the beginning, Gizmo, the little mogwai, it's a traveling salesman that finds him in this little shop and brings him back to town. And I really like the idea of this sort of happy-go-lucky, hapless guy that is inadvertently starting these snowball effects in his little town in Wisconsin by transporting something back, and then the story unfolds. So when I wrote Jerry for the first book, I had so much fun with that idea that I wanted to make it like a running gag through the series. So each book, again, opens up with poor Jerry on another sales trip and inadvertently starts the calamity that ensues.
Oh, I hear you. Well, it's a lot of fun, and like you said, wanted to throw a little humor into it.
Yes.
I mean, these characters aren't your standard walking zombies that are like The Walking Dead. They're just totally brain dead, and they're just after your blood and guts and all that. These have more character to them. So you wanted to develop your characters. Character study was very important to you in this.
Well, and for me, I've seen and read so much supernatural fiction, whether it's vampires, werewolves, zombies. where the vampires are always too sexy and too cool or sparkle too much. The werewolves
And
are
they
always
seduce the women.
yeah, and it's for me, I wanted to kind of take a different approach. Like, what do you do with a vampire that can barely match his socks?
Right.
What do you do with a werewolf that is such an egomaniac he doesn't even realize that he's a werewolf?
Right.
He just thinks he's really, really cool.
That's like it's fun.
Yep.
It's fun.
And then you mentioned zombies. One thing that I really had fun with in that book was the idea that zombies just want to get along with everybody. And all it takes is one bite, and you have nothing left to argue about. You're best friends.
They just want a little blood and gore. Everybody gets, and then most of the time they just bite you, and you turn into a zombie.
Exactly.
There's kind of a fine line, but who gets eaten, and it depends how many zombies get you first, I suppose.
So one of the fun things about being the author is that I do get to make my own rules, and I do like playing with the stereotypes a little bit in the stories. So with my zombies in particular, not to spoil it for the audience, but I did go with the secret government virus outbreak zombies instead of more like the traditional Haitian or voodoo zombies. And I decided to make it just a matter of time. If they didn't get eaten fast enough, then they're good. They're a zombie and they join the big crowd of friends.
I hear you. Well, I tell you, Scott, I tell some of the people I've just started a project down here where I'm working on a film project. It's called Jerry Gunn's Zombie Killer.
Cool.
And I tell these beautiful young women that I've been working with lately that out of nowhere, I wasn't paying attention, there was a solar eclipse, big news, big everywhere. Well, I've been telling these beautiful young women that I tell you there's the moon, the sun, the stars, the planets, parallel universes, everything's coming into place. I'm just stunned. And I met this beautiful woman from Siberia, Russia. She's here to study English, and now she's got a job at the Super Bowl, and she's going to be doing modeling projects, so I'm going to be working with her, and I'm saying, this is fantastic. Now I'm meeting an author that's just written a zombie book. And of course, there's other monsters in it, but I said, something's going on. I don't know what it is, but I'm riding this wave, and it's just fantastic.
Everything's converging.
So I'm hoping, I'm just meeting these people, and we're just getting this off the ground. And I told them, well, I wanted to get my project ready for Halloween this year.
Sure.
But this is just like a trial run and just see how different people work on this and who wants to stick around. And I say, well, it's actually a 2-year project because I don't have any money now. I said, we got to shoot the pilot, then I got to sell it to somebody so I can get that $10-20 million or something like that. So some people get it, some people don't.
Well, and I think that's it's the reality of any artistic endeavor. The one-hit wonders are few and far between. For everyone else, it's a long climb.
And you got to be in there,
build.
like you said, you got to be able to something you enjoy.
Yep.
And like me, I worked at the University of Minnesota for 30 years. I would plow snow, jack of all trades kind of a job. But at night, then I'd do my cable access TV show. And, I was married and I had a couple young kids, so, you had to have a day job, had to have the health insurance coverage, all that. But at night, I turned into a cable TV show host. And now, of course, I'm working with, what's great about cable access TV is all the different people you meet down here.
Sure.
And I meet people from all walks of life. And like now you're going to these conventions and all that. I mean, part of the fun is just all the crazy different people you meet.
Well, that's how I met Mary. So I was at the Midwest Comic Book Association, which is a great organization, been around for decades, that does a lot of work to support local, regional artists, creators. They have a big event every spring called SpringCon. And I had a table there selling my books, and Mary stopped by, started a conversation, started leafing through the books, and next thing you know, I'm a celebrity right here on the show.
Yeah, we're always looking for that somebody different out there.
Yeah.
That's what's great about it.
Yeah, and that's honestly, most of the fun that I've had with being an author is the people that I get to meet through the conventions, through the different like networking groups for authors. There's a lot of really, really interesting people writing books out there.
Sure.
Doing the graphic design for the covers, doing editing, publishing. I mean, it's a really, really neat world. So it's just fun to plug into and be a part of.
So, well, let's go back a little bit. Did you, as a young whippersnapper, watch a lot of zombie horror films in your youth, and kind of a fan of that genre?
I am. Yep. I mean, and obviously George Romero.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in
But I
peace.
mean, he broke through with the Night of the Living Dead. I mean, he just took
Really
the whole
defined the
zombie genre to a whole nother level.
Yep. And then, right alongside all of the TV, the movies, the books. I grew up on Stephen King.
Right.
But like I said, alongside of that, I also grew up on Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett, and I always really appreciated the humor in those stories.
Right.
So when it came down to putting my own stories to paper, I wanted to definitely embrace a lot of that pop culture from my youth. My books are pretty relatable to the Gen Xers like myself, but I wanted to make sure that I had fun with it. I didn't want to write the really scary book or the really gory book. I wanted to write that more humorous and human side of being a vampire or a werewolf or a zombie.
And they're books for all ages. I mean, they're real easy reads, great for summer reading, and I enjoyed it very much. One thing I was going to ask you about is kind of a little rivalry there, because the book is set in Wisconsin, and you make some references to the Vikings, and the zombies are going to go to Green Bay, and they're looking for more food, and you have some, talking about going to Lambeau Field, of course. You ever been to Lambeau Field?
I have not.
Well,
so
I got to do that. See a Viking game at Lambeau. I heard a lot of great reports. Right? It's got to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and I think what my dirty secret, not so secret, is that I'm actually not from Wisconsin. I am from Minnesota.
Right.
When people ask why my first book was set in Wisconsin, I just said because Wisconsin Vamp sounded better than Minnesotan Vamp.
Right.
But one thing I really have a lot of fun with is just small town Midwest. And so we've got the Vikings fans in their purple jerseys and their mullets playing pool, and the Wisconsin guys want to get into some fisticuffs, and we've got the zombies marching toward Lambeau Field and really hoping they can get a bite of a Packer. And that's again for me. I grew up in Minnesota. I spent a lot of time in western and northern Wisconsin growing up as a kid, and I really wanted to put my story someplace fun, familiar, and different from.
Yeah, and these are working class people.
Regular
down
folks.
to earth, small town people.
Yep.
And and that's what's great about you develop these characters. They like karaoke, they like bowling.
Yes, they do.
Nothing wrong with that. Great Midwestern values.
Yeah, and that's again just for me. I didn't really want to tell another story about some vampire that's fulfilling a dark prophecy. I wanted to write about a vampire that wins the men's bowling tournament.
Right.
So that's again, I just tried to keep it close, keep it familiar, keep it fun.
Well, I thought you might be from Wisconsin, so I was going to poke some fun at you.
You still can.
Have you been to Wisconsin trying to sell these books?
I haven't yet, actually.
Oh, you have to go to Madison or
Yep,
something.
I've had some folks come across the river. I'll meet people from Wisconsin at some different conventions I've been to, and they're always a little nervous. What kind of jokes am I going to make about those poor folks in Wisconsin? But they all come back happy. They like it quite a bit.
Yeah, you have to look for a convention in Milwaukee or something.
I think so. Yeah,
That'd be
again,
fun.
starting to travel a little bit more would be great. I was down in Kansas City over the summer for a big convention. Furthest I've gone has actually been Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, right.
I went up to a Writers Fest up there. But not exactly making Stephen King money yet. So I have to pick and choose my trips pretty carefully and stay at the budget motels.
Well,
I like going to the Crypticon Horror Convention every fall here in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
And the cosplayers, people that dress
Is that
up.
coming up?
Yep, coming up in first weekend of November.
So will you have a booth there?
I will. Yep,
okay.
I'll be there with my books.
There you go. Scott Burtness.
Come to Crypticon.
Meet
in
an
person.
author. He's got the Monsters in the Midwest Trilogy for you to check out.
But yeah, some of the costumes are absolutely fantastic. I mean, people really put their heart and soul into it.
Oh yeah. And then they got I just was at a bar in northeast Minneapolis. They have a Star Trek crawl now.
Oh, I'm sure. I haven't seen it yet, but it was only a matter of time.
I think we just missed it. I think it was like the 4th, 5th annual one.
Wow.
So
Okay.
somebody had a brainstorm, and it was they walk around at bars in northeast Minneapolis.
See, anything plus bar, it just seems to work.
Imagine throw in a little beer, you can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong.
Darn right. All right. So another thing, you touched a little bit on Stephen King. I was just reading some reviews with The Dark Tower just came out.
The movie.
And they got some really bad reviews. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to make that jump
Yep.
from, The Dark Tower was it's quite a cult following there. I mean, I've read a couple of the books, and he gets into different dimensions, and you can just see where it'd be kind of maybe a little difficult to adapt it to the big screen. Sure. And it sounded like the screenwriters didn't capture the magic.
That's always got to be the hard part. I mean, we talked a bit about being a self-published author versus a published author, and I suppose there's always kind of a tug and war, but when you're going through a publisher, you're going to work with an editor, and that editor is going to, well, like you say, you have to have a thick skin. They're going to tell you, hey, your book is 80,000 words. We need it to be 65,000 words. So go and find 15,000 words and
you're
just
going to
get
have to
them out
cut
of
a
there.
character out of here.
Yep, take entire scenes out. And as the author, that's really terrifying and hard to do. How can I tell my story in 15,000 less words? So then I think about what must happen when a book gets adapted for film.
Sure.
And I mean, you figure that you've got this much book, and probably about that much can fit into a 90-minute film.
Right.
How do you do that? And so I made the decision. I'm not going to see the Dark Tower movie. I really enjoyed the books, and I've seen a few of the reviews, and for me, I want to keep the book special.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't want to spoil it.
Like you said, it's difficult to make that. Some books have worked. Stephen King, I think, Carrie.
Great.
Got good, great. I mean, I got one of his early ones that really got him kicked off. Yep. But then there's what this It is it called? That's coming out now.
Coming out, yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. You never know.
Well, that was another genre, the crazy clown posse look now, or I mean, that's gone.
Scary clowns.
Scary clowns.
Yep.
Oh, wow. So.
Yep. Actually, it's funny. I'm trying to decide what to do for a fourth book, but.
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Is this going to be another one? You think another followed stories? Here?
I wasn't sure. I mean, when I wrapped up Undead Cheesehead, I thought that would be the end of the trilogy. But then I started thinking about scary clowns, or like Cthulhu, or I mean, there's so many fun monsters to play with. I might just have to keep it going.
Or is it depending on the book sales, or?
No, I mean, even if I never sell another book, I'm still going to keep writing them. Just because it's fun.
It's in your blood.
Yeah, yep. And I imagine the same's got to be true for putting together film projects. You do it because you love it.
All right, Scott, let's get into more detail about the characters. I'm sure good fans out there like a little background. Now, these aren't the beautiful people of Los Angeles, or the people that are going to go to a disco, or these people are your small town. They enjoy karaoke, they enjoy bowling, they enjoy friendship, meeting people that they've known for years.
Yeah, exactly. My folks in Trappersville, Wisconsin are pretty salt of the earth. The story really focuses on three friends. They've been buddies since high school, and the three friends that you can find in a lot of places. You've got Herb, who's a lovable loser, just kind of a nice guy, doesn't really have a lot of direction, has trouble matching his socks. His buddy Dallas, big man on campus, ladies' man, everyone loves him. And then Stanley, kind of the geeky nerd, a little bit of an oddball, always claims he was abducted by aliens back in high school.
Now, who's going to believe that?
Yeah, which, he actually, well, I don't want to ruin too much for you, but he's pretty adamant that it happened. And so these three guys are just trying to figure things out. They're on the same bowling team together. They like going out and having beers.
Trying to make ends meet, just your all-American down-home people.
Joes.
Yep, regular Joes.
So in the first book, when Herb becomes a vampire, it starts to change the relationship between
the
these three
dynamic
friends.
is going to change.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's starting to do things better than his best friend. His best friend starts getting jealous.
Right.
And when they end up going for the same girl, rivalry ensues.
Yes, right.
So, what was really interesting about the first book for me was just sometimes it takes a really big change to understand who you're meant to be. And sometimes embracing who you're meant to be can be tough.
It can be a shock.
Yep. So by the time the second book rolls around, I wanted Dallas to learn a little sympathy for the devil. So I start putting Dallas through the paces, where he's becoming something supernatural and doesn't quite know what's going on, and all of a sudden he has a better understanding and appreciation for what his best friend was going through.
Sure.
And there's a heck of a love story in book two. Dallas's dear love, Dolores, his 4x4 pickup truck.
And that comes as a shock here in Minnesota. People would love their pickup trucks. And,
so yeah, I mean, I definitely got a good love story in there. But with me, I really wanted to just try and make these folks relatable. People that I grew up with and have lived around my whole life. Right. And then put them in those just extraordinary circumstances. And that's what made it fun for me. Stanley in the third book, gosh, that poor guy. Herb's gone through such an adventure, and Dallas has gone through such an adventure. The only way that I can match that was to have a lot of Stanleys going through a lot of adventures.
And there's a real twist there. I'm not going to give anything away. And as I'm reading it, I'm going, what's going on here? Something weird's going on. I can't quite figure it out. And I said, is the author messing with my head here or something? But it doesn't take too long, and you find out, whoa, hey, there's something really strange going on here.
So that was a
hats
fun
off
one.
to you for that. I mean, that I was starting to worry about you there for a minute.
But yeah, my intention was to have the story arc really build and carry across the 3 books, but let each book really be that character's story. So
your character development is very important, and so you can identify with these people. I think a lot of people will either, you might not personally think you're one of these people, but you probably know somebody like that.
Yep, and it's been actually a lot of the fun feedback from readers is when they laugh about the cast of supporting characters. Rhonda the bartender, or Pat that works at the gas station, and
somebody's always trying to ruin that one guy's cafe.
Yes, yeah, poor Ronnie. But yeah, so I really wanted to make just everybody in these worlds just familiar faces.
Sure, well, that's great. I enjoyed that part, and I think. The most important thing is that you attend conventions, and that's how you reach out to people.
Yeah.
I suppose you meet people from all walks of life, and you can kind of see some people that maybe you can identify for maybe a 4th book.
Yeah, no, it's always a lot of fun thinking about who to put into the story. Part of it, I think, actually I had an acting teacher years ago, but they said being a great actor is first and foremost, being really interested in life. The people around you, what you see, what you do. Take all that experience in, because that is really what you need to create. I feel the same way as an author. I really try and be open to new experiences, doing fun things, meeting great people. Because all of that just really starts to, it's almost like tools in the tool bucket that you can pull from later on.
Well, heck yeah. And then there's a secret society too.
There is. Yep,
chasing
we've got
these poor guys.
Oh yeah, we've got Secret Society of Monster Hunters. It's
it gets really developed. Where after you've read the first book, and especially getting into that second one, and you can't wait for the 3rd book.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So it's important for you people get out there and support your local authors in that, because you self-published these.
I did, and actually, I'm glad that you talked about supporting authors, because that's something I feel pretty strongly about too. I've come to learn that there is a lot of really talented just folks throughout Minnesota. So I actually started an event to help support and promote Minnesotan authors.
Well, how did that come about?
It's called the Books and Beer Pop-Up Bookstore.
Oh, okay.
Really simple premise. I just pick a brewery somewhere around town.
Wow.
I get about 25 Minnesotan authors to come in and sell their books for the day.
Wow, great.
And it's just a very fun, casual way for folks to get to meet some local authors, find their next favorite book, and of course anything plus beer ends up being a good time. But so for folks that want to check it out, it's up on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/MN Books and Beer, Books and Beer Pop-Up Bookstore. And I try to have an event pop up every 3 or 4 months at a different brewery.
When was your last one?
So we had the first one in May. The second one was earlier this month in August.
Oh, so we just missed that one. So later in the fall, you'll be planning something maybe?
Looking at December. So probably early December, right before the holidays, because I think that books are the best gift you can give at the holidays.
Oh,
so.
Good thinking. So you have a website where people can find you? You just said...
So the Books and Beer is just the Facebook page. I keep it real simple. And for myself as an author, I do have a website. It's long, but it's the swbauthourblog.wordpress.com, I think is all of it. I've got a Facebook page. I've got a Twitter account.
We can put that right on the screen.
We make it easy for
we got this crack team down here. They're called, that's what cable access TV is all about, is people help, I help Mary on her project, then she helps me on my project.
Sure, yeah.
And a lot of this is done in post-production, where we can add stuff and we'll throw on content, how to get it. It's very important to take advantage of these cable access TV shows, because they're for the public, they're for the people. All you have to do is live in this area, and this is all free.
Yeah, that's great.
And so we get this out, and it's great to meet authors like you. And once again, it's called a pop-up.
Books and Beer pop-up bookstore. Yep.
I'm definitely going to have to check that.
Yeah. Oh, they're a lot of fun, and I always try to make each one very unique. A different brewery, a different group of authors, so that it always offers something new and interesting for folks that want to come check it out.
Okay. All right. So getting down to our last minute or two, one last time. Really important that these are just great people. It's kind of like it revolves around 3 events, three books, 3 people, their loves and the different women that come in. There's some really great development of some female characters in here. And like I said, once again, we could see that you really enjoy developing these characters. And give us some last thoughts on the development of these fantastic characters.
So for me, it was really just about, like I said, what is it that really helps a person figure out who they are and who they're supposed to be? Right. What's the meaning of friendship? What's the meaning of love? And to stand by somebody or discover somebody that's gone through a big change in their life. So the books are fun, they're funny. How do vampires comb their hair? Do werewolves pee on trees? Right. But through it all, I really wanted to just try and make sure that I kept a hold of that humanity for my vampire, werewolf, and zombie.
Well, that's fantastic. Once again, Scott Burtness, I want to thank you for coming in here on Mary's Eclectic Interest. I'm your host, Richard A-Bomb Claddy. Be watching for more of Mary's shows as she brings in different authors from all walks of life. Okay, have a great night, and we'll see you at the next book show.
What makes your community feel like home? Is it knowing what's happening in your neighborhood? Or when people know your name? Connections make us a community. For more than 30 years, Northwest Community Television has connected citizens, neighbors, even sports fans through video. You can learn about the latest news through our truly local newscast. We cover and air around 150 high school sporting events every year. For our cities, we air parades and city meetings that you can watch whenever you want. Then, any citizen of our cities can create and share their own original content. We'll even teach you how to use the equipment too. We have always provided you with a connected community experience, and as life gets busier than ever, we will continue to engage, inform, and inspire through CCX Media, so you can stay connected to the place you call home.